In the previous tutorials, we've looked at sequences of instructions where one instruction simply follows the other. And we've looked at selection, using the if statement where you make a choice or a decision. We also often in computing need to repeat a series of commands once or more times. In Python, there are a couple of ways in which we can do this. And in this tutorial, we're going to look at using the for statement. And the for statement in Python is fairly easy to use. We simply introduce the for statement and then a control variable. In this case, I'm going to call it I. Or, like any other variables, you could call it anything you want, A, B, C, or you could give it a name like Fred. And then we need to specify the range that I is going to be in. So, in this example here, we're saying that we want a variable called I to be used as control for this for loop, and what we think we want is it to start from 0 and go up to 10. We need to end this line with a colon, just like we did with the if. That will trigger the indent in PyScripter. And then let's tell it to simply print I and see what that gives us. Let's run the program. And as you can see down here, if I make this window a little bit bigger here, we've outputted the numbers from 0, which was the value we started with here, to 9, which is not the value we specified here. We specified 10. So what happens if we make this 10 11? Let's run the program again, and this time we do get the numbers from 0 all the way down to 10. That's just one point you need to remember. Python always stops 1 before the value here. So we can now get Python to count. We start this at 2 and we go up to 6. Can you guess what numbers it would output? Let's see. Play it, and we get the numbers 2, 3, 4 and 5. Remember, it always stops 1 before the value here. Let's have a look at a couple of other things that we can do with this. Let's put this back again so it starts at 0. Let's have it going up to 11 so it stops at 10. That's the confusing bit. And let's here put another number. Let's try putting 2 and see what this does. Can you guess perhaps before I hit the play button? Have a think. Now let's see what we get. We get 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Started at 0, and then this number here told it by how much to increment I by each time. So first time round this loop here, I was 0, then I added 2 to that, which made it 2, added another 2, which made I 4, and then 6, and then 8, and then 10. So we can also use a for loop to go up in any value. If I change this to a 3 instead of a 2, pretty sure you can guess now what's going to happen. So let's hit the play button. And again, we've started at 0 and we've gone up in 3s. 3, 6 and 9. So that's a basic use that you can put the for loop to. You can also count backwards. And you can do that this way. If we put 10 first this time, then 0, and then we put -1. Let's see what we get here. Let's run the program, and as you can see, we get 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Because first time round this loop, I is 10, then we take 1 off it, we subtract 1 from it, which gives us 9, then we get 8, 7, 6, and so on. Notice again, it doesn't output 0. It stops 1 before this value here. Remember that because it can cause you problems when you write your own code. Again, we can change this value here from -1 to -2, so that when we run it, this time it starts at 10, but it takes 2 off each time. 8, 6, 4, and 2. So, Let's recap then. We can force Python to repeat a series of commands by using the for loop. This is called iteration, where you iterate or repeat a series of commands multiple times. You need some sort of control for the loop. This time I'm going to use the letter J just to prove that it doesn't always have to be I. And then you need to specify the range that you want to use. Again, the number that you want to start with might be 1. And then if you want to go up to 10, you must make sure that you put 11 here. You can omit the value here if you want to go up by 1 each time. Now, what we haven't done here is we haven't told Python what we want to do within the loop. We also haven't here put the colon, which is why we've got the invalid syntax. We've used the Python syntax incorrectly. Don't worry if this happens. Just have a look at what you've done, and obviously we need to put the colon in to there to finish the for loop. That triggers the indent, and then we can tell Python what we actually want to do inside the loop. This time if we run it, we should get the output as we expected. Now, once we've done this, we can start to do interesting things. Suppose we want to output the 2 times table. What I can do in here is simply tell it, okay, inside of here, rather than just print J, I want you to print whatever J times 2 is. So, first time round the loop, J will be 1, so we'll have 1 times 2. Next time round the loop, J will be 2, so we have 2 times 2. Then J will be 3, so 3 times 2, and so on. So let's run this, and hopefully we should see the 2 times table. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. If we want the 3 times table, we could replace the 2 there with a 3, run it, and we get the 3 times table. This is just one function that you can put the for loop to. If we wanted to make this look a little bit better, then we could use some of the techniques that we've learned in the previous tutorials. We could get it to output the value J first, so we could certainly say J, concatenate onto that the times symbol, because that's what we're doing, we're multiplying. Make sure we put the times symbol inside quotation marks. Then we can add onto that the value 3, because that's what we're multiplying by. And then we can add onto that an equal sign. And then we can add onto that whatever J times 3 actually is. So what we've got here is we want it to print whatever is in value J, then concatenate with that, add onto it the times symbol. Remember, we've got to put this inside of quotation marks so it treats it as a piece of text, a string value. And then we want to concatenate onto that 3 equals, and again this has to be inside quotation marks. And then we want to concatenate onto that the result of actually multiplying whatever is in J by 3. Now, I'm about to hit the play button, but I'm suddenly thinking, J is a numeric value, and I'm trying to add it to text. So remember, if you're trying to do that, you need to use the string function, so that it converts J into a piece of text. We also need to do the same thing over on this side, where it's doing the calculation. So it does the calculation, and then converts it to a string value, so we can join it all together. Now, hopefully, if we got everything correct and we hit the play button, we should get this. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, and so on. We can tidy this up a bit if we want to. We could perhaps put a space around the multiply sign here. If we now play it, it looks a little bit more presentable. You could, if you wanted to, so that you could get these lining up here so that not out of alignment down here, you could introduce a tab character. And we could introduce a tab character at this point here. and then we could introduce the tab character at this point here, and then maybe here, and see what we get. Okay, looks slightly better, and maybe with a bit more effort we could get it looking even better than it does at the moment. But the principle is good enough, I think, for you to get an idea as to what you can use the for loop for. This concludes this tutorial.